A few weeks ago, I ran into someone on a walk. The person who I would call Alan offered up the carriage house. Alan promised me reduced rent as the groundskeeper. I should have said no then and there, and here was why. I agreed, mainly from desperation. For years, I tried moving out of my parents' house. However, between the rent hikes, a non-existent labor market, and the fact that I newly graduated as a digital design major, I kept running into scammers promising me a wonderful life despite everything else being said. So much so for my independence. Ping, a text message. Can you apply for disability? Who's this? Alan. I ask Alan why. This way we can reduce your rent further. No, Alan, I must go through Section 8. However, it is at least a 7-year wait in my state, and you must get approved as a Section 8 landlord before we can even begin filing the paperwork. Doesn't disability include a housing voucher? No, not that I know of. What about a housing allotment? I don't know. Then come to my property at 8 a.m. tomorrow, sure thing. So, the following morning, I text back as promised. No response. I try exactly an hour later. Ping! Alan, what happened at 8 a.m. today? I didn't hear back. Ha 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 ha. So, what's funny, Alan? I was sleeping. However, Alan, I can come by at 8 p.m. It would be too dark by then. What about 7 p.m. after I'm done with my meeting? Nothing. Alan, what about 6 p.m.? Then I can have a guy come down and start cleaning the property. He can handle the midday heat. Nothing. I thought that rather confused because I had not agreed to clean the property, and I agreed to only meet Alan. By this point, I am not thinking much of anything besides an unreliable and scattered landlord who could be rather forgetful at times. A few more weeks pass and I hear, room is going for $1,500 a month. You still want it? So I immediately text back out of excitement. Yet, a tickling gut feeling overwhelmed me. Of course, like in most of my horror stories, I didn't listen. And historically, whenever something felt off, it was off. I can recount at least 2 wonky living situations where my gut feeling kept going off during the entire house tour, and one place was a polished interior, but yet it was filled with rodents, and another being a suburban family house that had nightly fights every single night, both priced at too good to be true rents, and now I know why. This time around, something kept nagging at me. I phoned my friend working in commercial real estate, and everything comes flying out of my mouth, including Alan promised to help me hide my money if I am accepted on a disability. And Alan offered opening a retirement account under his name. Alan is renting a room at $1,500. Whoa. That is overpriced for that area, especially next to that abandoned hotel. Nobody can find its original owner or groundskeeper, which is why rental property isn't very prime out there. Alan could very well tell you to go clean that hotel or pay full rent. What? Here is the thing about exchanging cleaning for rent. You can make that hotel look spotless, but Alan might say, well, that was not good enough. Go clean something else or you are paying full rent. You are also considered autistic, which adds another layer. How? I'm very confused. Alan could very well hypothetically tell the state, look, I am housing someone with a disability and receive a kickback. Now Alan collects rent from both you and the state. I have seen this done before. And also, by the way, this happened to my neighbor Glenn. Who's Glenn? A former tenant who moved into the carriage back in 1994. Alan got a hold of Glenn, promising that he could travel the world and have fun. Pardon me. Let me back up this bus. Alan promised Glenn that he could travel the world and live a carefree life if he moved in. Alan allegedly played his stake in the signing over Glenn's power of attorney, medical decision making, guardianship, health insurance, and financial power. What really happened to Glenn? Alan also tried doing this to my niece, but I put a stop to it. Alan advertised rent-free living in exchange for a tour guide. The hotel was supposed to reopen for tours Labor Day, but nobody took the bait until July 2nd, 1994. I haven't seen Glenn since he signed over his rights to Alan. I couldn't help but chuckle. Well, Alan opened the hotel to tourists, and there's at least 1,000 tourists a day. How do you know what Alan did to Glenn? We talked. Anyone offering to hide money is sneaky. Most likely, they'll hide it from you, along with other things. You think that your situation at home stinks? Imagine trying to escape Alan if you sign paperwork. Alan already got a family of 5 and is putting them to work. Must go. Boss is calling. Thanks for the chat. Despite my gut feeling, none of this story made sense. So, off to the hotel I go in hopes of bumping into Alan. I scrounged enough spare change for the down payment. Immediately, Alan offers me a hotel tour, which I accept. I still cannot figure out why the tour involved me sitting inside an elevator-style lift, and then I saw it. There stood a family of 5 dressed in 1939 vintage attire, seemingly stuck in an infinite time loop. Somehow Alan morphed them into ghost projections that appear, reconcile their existence, and then vanish in the thin air. I still cannot begin recovering from this if someone managed to rescue all of them. Sally, the youngest member, must have aged 32 years since then. I heard my name. Glenn, I called out. A flickering light cried. And I say, I'm here. The only other words I hear is, it's raining, it's pouring. And then the window shadows, and that is the last time I saw any of them.